It's Little Adorable, back at it again with another video where I answer questions from Twitter and I try not looking at them so that way like when I read them it's my genuine reaction. But some of the notifications just caught my eye and it was like, what? Okay, so I'm excited to answer these and maybe you'll learn a new thing or two about me. So let's go. Let's get started. Oh, there was one though I did want to answer right away, an anonymous asker, if you will. So secretive that they had to have their rep ask me their question. And it was, what is my favorite animal? And that is a very difficult answer for me to give because I've got like three I would say I have to choose from, which horses. My mama would say I was born with a love for them. Cannot explain. It was just there. It was instilled in me. I don't know about like the next second favorite, but at least for the top three, horses would be first. I really like wolves. They're like big dogs, and they they're pretty. And then pandas. I love pandas. They're super cute. I wear a lot of black, and if you can, maybe not. I wear a lot of black and white and gray clothes, and pandas are my vibe, and they're cute, and they roll. So I would have to say that those are my top three animals to answer that question. Okay, now let's get to the ones that were asked on Twitter right now. Okay, here we go. And this time I'm trying to do a little something instead of me just reading off of my phone. I'm trying to have you actually can see them. So the first one is Foosh Bean, or should I say Foosh_Bean. On a scale of 1 to 10, what's your favorite alphabet on the color wheel? Chinchillas. Next, Rusty Names. Hi. Oh, and hi Bean. Do you like going to the movies or prefer watching them at home? Also, favorite Christmas movies. Ooh, movies. Okay. The thing is that I like both. So I like being at the movie theater in the sense of movie theater popcorn is so good. And yes, you can make popcorn at home, but it's not the same. So I would say being at the movie theater and getting popcorn is super, super great. That's that plus. But then watching at home, I can bundle up. Because sometimes in the movie theater I get cold because you're just sitting there, hibernating low key, and then you just get cold, and I get cold easily. I'm wearing long sleeves and socks and a blanket because I get cold. But I guess overall maybe at home because I'm more comfortable that way and I can still get popcorn. It's not the same popcorn, but I can still have popcorn and other snacks. Also, favorite Christmas movies. Gremlins. I would say because it's Christmas time. And I don't know if you'd count them as movies, but I know my mama likes the Hallmark Christmas movies, so I associate those with her and just watching them together, even though we know how they're going to end. Yeah. Hey, it's Vane. I'm sorry if I butcher names, but hi. Okay, I see a few questions. Don't apologize. Sorry, I was skimming. Don't apologize for asking questions. That's the point, is I answer them. Would you like to make content creation your job, or would you prefer to keep it as a hobby? If I can make it into a job, I think that would be really neat and definitely would be something I haven't done before with other jobs that I've done in the past. Kind of like with writing too. If I can make writing my job, that would be amazing because I love doing that. What's your favorite character of your book? That's like asking me to pick a favorite child. Because the thing is, all of my characters, even not the main characters, the side characters, I give them a little piece of me. That's so hard. Who's my favorite? this is... Oh, my little babies. Who's my favorite? I mean, like, the characters in Elvina will have a special place because, like, that was the first book I was able to publish. But I know, like, there are other characters that I also really, really love. Maybe Issa? Maybe Issa, which I haven't talked about. I haven't talked about that book. So that, like, nobody would be able to be like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. That checks out. Maybe her. She's one of my, like, oldest that I've been working with. I keep changing the world, the plot. The characters stay the same. Maybe somebody is unalived, and then they're unalived because I bring them back. But that's been, like, the longest ongoing series I have, which it's the Cursings series. But I'm still working on it. Were you inspired by another artist's work while writing it? For that particular one, yes. There's another series out there where the author took it one way, and I wish that she did it another. So literally that entire world of Cursings is what I had hoped that the author did with it. And then it became its own thing. And everything. I just wish that they went another way because it would have been so cool to go down that particular road. And it didn't happen. So I was like, okay, fine. I'm gonna do what I want. I write what I want to read, and since I wanted to read that and it didn't go that way, I'm like, okay, we're gonna make it happen. So I would have to say that. Who's your favorite author and what's your favorite book of theirs? Well, at one point, it was the author of Harry Potter, and then when stuff started coming to light and things being said, it was like, we're just taking the world and everything that you've written for it, and we're gonna leave it at that. Commandeering, I believe, was a word I would see used for it. But at least for the Harry Potter series, the third one, The Prisoner of Azkaban, that is my favorite of that series, and I reread it a lot, for sure. Good questions. The favorite character was really hard, though, so I appreciate that. We're gonna switch. Okay, so with this, different account, but still the same questions. So let's go. Lost, hey! I know it's used. Do you ever plan on streaming? Spoiler, yes. I know it's the end of, like, 2021, so if so... Oh, I lied. I take it back. Do you ever plan on streaming? Yes. 2022. I'll have to figure out, like, what month. Spoiler, it will probably, like, the first day I do it will probably be on a 13th. When I started YouTube, the first video I did was on August 13th. 13 is my lucky number, so I would like to keep it the same. So, like, if I don't do it in January, it would be, like, February 13th. If I don't do it in February, you know, and so on and so on. So I'll figure out what month works best for lining up, but yeah. If so, what would you stream? I don't know. I still have to figure that out. I enjoy playing video games. I wouldn't mind talking and answering questions live instead of just, like, doing this. I think that would be super nice to see differently done. Also, favorite kind of pasta noodle, valuable information. Favorite pasta noodle, angel hair, I guess, like the skinny one. First of all, I love spaghetti. I love spaghetti. That's, like, my favorite. Confused Totem, hey, I know you. Who is your favorite author? I kind of answered that with somebody previously, so I'm going to keep going. What would you tell your younger self if you had a chance to talk to them? How young are we talking? Like, even high school younger self? Child younger self? Toddler younger self? I guess it depends on, like, if I wanted to be sentimental, or just, like, yo, you think that you're gonna grow up and just have horses and dogs, but spoiler, you find somebody and you get married, and he's your best friend. I think that would be a shock factor. But like for sentimental, it would kind of be like, hey, do your writing thing. You're gonna have fun with it and meet some neat people. Or is this like one of those you only have 3 words to say? I don't know what those 3 words would be. I haven't really thought about that. I've seen those before, and it's like, oh, that's a funny thing somebody would say. Who is your favorite person? Low-key a tie between my mother and my husband. For rightfully so reasons. You know, one of them kind of gave birth to me and raised me and unconditionally loved me for everything that I grew up to be. She might have gotten some gray hairs along the way, but she's great. And then, you know, my husband is my best friend. He's a good guy, and he feeds me. Granted, my mom fed me too when I still lived at home, and she still feeds me now when I go. It's a tie between those two. It's very hard to say, not gonna lie. Sports you like the most. Okay, here's the thing. Sports that like I played or that I like to watch. Because I actually did 3 seasons of soccer. And in my last season, we won the championship. So that was pretty neat, like a good way to end it. Soccer is still fun to watch. I watch a lot of football because of my family. Horseback riding, big, yeah. I did that for a lot of years. And like the horse camp, oh, those were fun. Circling back to my favorite animal right there. What is your biggest fear? I hate this, not I hate, that's a very strong word. But this particular question of like, I'm not afraid of like water or the deep ocean or sharks, or the dark or like not basic ones like that. They're all rational by all means, or spiders. Biggest fear. I'm kind of just like, face it head on. That's the Gryffindor. And biggest fear though. Would this count of my husband finding someone better? Which we've already had this discussion of like, he's like, you're the greatest thing that's ever happened to me, and that makes me feel good about myself. If that counts, then that. But other than that, I'm just like, let's go. Let's tackle it. Let's beat it. Let's do it. Birdie Werby. I know you. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. I'm so sorry. Okay. Whoa. When you brainstorm and write, do you write by hand or electronic first? Whatever's I have access to. So typically it's my, like, current me right now. It's normally my phone or my Lappy, which are both electronic, and, you know, it makes it easy to copy and everything. If I have my phone, I have a note thing, and I just copy paste it into an email, open the email, my Lappy, copy paste all that, and then like put it in the Word doc or put it where it needs to go. That makes it super easy. But in high school, I had my writing notebook. Like, you would have like your class notebooks, and then I had the specific one for writing, and I would fill like I kid you not, if I don't have one handy right now. But I would fill the entire page, and I would freak other students out, like, what class is that for? And it's like, this is my writing, this is personal, it doesn't apply. Electronic is easier for sure. But if I don't have access to my phone or my Lappy, then it's definitely like in a notebook. And I actually typically, right now I need to get a new one because I ran out. But I always have a little baby notebook in my purse, which is a book bag. But basically in my book bag, just to make it super handy. And I always have pens in there. I color code. So like I have 3 different pens that I use: black, purple, and blue. And those all mean different things. So if I'm handwriting, which it also applies in like electronic sense, but I color code It helps me. You got any poetry? No. I do not poet well. I write stories well, which I guess you can, paint a story with the poetry. I had a creative writing class in high school, which really didn't involve poetry, but it wasn't like, the haikus and all, which sure you had like a special assignment for it, but I do not poet, I will say. Any favorite horror movies? Like the classics, Nightmare on Elm Street and Freddy Krueger's. He good. All of like, I can't even start. Like, I said the one, but like, I love horror movies, scare movies. Those are my absolute favorite. I always watch them. If you count Gremlins, that just takes me back to my childhood. I would always borrow the VCR tape from one of my aunts, and then I'd take it home and watch, and then eventually I got the DVD of it. But just scary movies are super... The Lazarus Effect was really, really nice. That was more psychological, too. Psychological, horror, thriller, scary. That's my vibe. Those are also the video games I like to play, too. Were you a wizard kid, dragons kid, aliens kid, Greek mythology kid, or alien space kid? I will say I was a horse kid. Absolutely. Wizard kid, yes. Dragons kid, yes. Aliens kid, no. Greek mythology kid, yes. Typically with magic, sorcery, but no like sci-fi, except for like Star Wars. That's kind of where I draw the line with sci-fi, I will say. Boohoo Cracker? I don't know, it's throwing me off because there's no you there, and I know that it's a username. Anyway, hi, thanks for asking your question, Boohoo. Or Callie, I guess. I see that. If you could fist fight any sea animal, which sea animal would it be and why? What? But like, I'm part mermaid. Why would I want to fight? Can I say a shark? Just a shark for you. You know exactly why I say a shark. I couldn't take on a shark. I could take on like a baby shark, a little pup. Ollie the dumbass. I love that username. Hi, Ollie. Who's your fave, Kiki or Boba? What? I don't know what this means, but I like that one because I like curves. If that means if like this one's Kiki and this one's Boba, or they're switched around, if those are their names, I don't know what this means. Not gonna lie, you stumped me with this. I don't know. I don't recognize what this is, so you should explain it to me. All right, not skipping. I answered it. I just don't want to dwell on it because it's gonna confuse me because I don't know what it is. Dayscript _ I know you. Hi. Favorite boba flavor. Okay, very specific. It is a I haven't gone out there in a while, I will say. It's a lemonade raspberry flavor that is super, super, super good. And I get it with like the tapioca pearls. That's like my favorite. It's so good. And luckily it's not like a seasonal one, so I can get it whenever I want, which makes me really, really happy. In your writing process, do you usually start off with your characters' names and personality first and build the world from there, or try to have a base for the setting first and then make characters as you go? Here's the thing. Yes, it's everything. Whether it starts from, hey, this is a particular character I want and we're going to build it. This is their close friend group if friends are involved. Another idea, the world started first. Another idea, the plot started first. Another idea, Like for Unseemly, I knew I wanted it to have high fashion because of, which I mentioned in my Hey, I'm a Self-Published Author spoiler video. There was a picture I saw with a dress, and it was like, I want a world to have high fashion. So like I put it in a little board, and then I left it until more came to it and I had more to work with. But it's a mix of everything. It's never like, oh, it's always the characters first. And there are times I have characters, and then I have a world, and then eventually they both like just come together, and it was like, oh, this will make sense. But other times I'm struggling to fit the characters in a world, and it's like, I want to use these characters. So I have so many ideas, but they're like on pause because I haven't found the right world or the right characters for the world. But I write everything as I go, so I always have them down. There's no rhyme or reason, it's just yes. Favorite meal? This is like asking me my favorite child. Can I name like some top meals that I like? I can't pick a favorite. Cause like it depends on my mood. Okay, some of my favorites are steak with like mashed potatoes and grilled asparagus, preferably. I also really like ramen, so like there are a couple of ramen shops that I would go to for when I'm feeling ramen. Separate sushi places because I like sushi, and then if I don't necessarily want like sushi, then I get like poke bowls, things like that. Those are really good. Typically anything with potatoes. I really love potatoes. I would have to at least list those for like favorite meals. We're just gonna pretend that there's an S right there. Okay, good questions. Cringing crisis. Oopsie. Favorite Star Wars movie / character besides Grogu. Oh, you know me. Favorite. That's hard. R2-D2. R2-D2. He's no nonsense. No nonsense with that character. Villain you find cool. Like, cool in what sense? Like, Hades from, like, the Hercules cartoon movie was super cool. But, like, Umbridge from Harry Potter was such a well-written villain. Everybody hated her more than Voldemort. And, like, that shows good writing. I forget where I saw it. It was, like, Tumblr or something, but it was, like, you know, everybody has had an Umbridge, so everybody could relate to having that type of character / person in their life. And my voice is going. Hold on. Sorry. Wait, can you see? It's what? I need to turn it this way. It's Squirtle. He's my favorite. One of my favorite Pokemon, I should say. I wish it didn't squeak or whatever noise it makes. Okay, next question. Do you watch DSMP lore streams? Not gonna lie. Unless it's Noah or Foolish. I haven't. Nope. I know about certain things because, like, I follow people on Twitter for it, but I don't. Unless Noah does something. I don't even, like, watch that much Minecraft or play Minecraft unless, like, my siblings are doing it. I just outed myself. Whoops. All right, next part. If you do opinion on some lore characters. I'm trying to think of, like, opinions. Like, obviously I know Noah, Foolish, the best. I like bad boy. Yeah, I like bad. Any random suggestions on what I should draw? Pandas. Can't go wrong with pandas. They're cute. And they're also moo colors. Yeah, pandas. Just all the pandas rolling down a hill. Vic! Hi, Vic! What are your goals and aspirations for the next year? I want to finish a book draft. For the longest time, I was really, really bad about just jumping between one and then the other and then the other. And I wasn't accomplishing any of them, so they were all left undone, still in draft mode. So next year, I would like to finish one of them, which I've told myself, like, recently, like, focus on this particular one, try and get it done, so that way you can say, like, you have a draft for it. That's definitely a goal. Streaming would be a goal. That's still in the works. I don't know, like I answered before, I don't know necessarily when I can start, or when I, like, will be able to start, but I think those two are on the plate, and we'll see what happens. Maybe, honestly, like, once I start, I almost said twitching. Once I start streaming, maybe I can, like, incorporate the two. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Hello, Quiche the Frog. Hello. I have questions. Awesome. That's why we're here. What's the most useless talent you have? Myself. Just me as a whole. Spoiler, I'm very self-deprecating. My husband's trying to work on that. What's the most useless talent? Oh! I mean, I don't know how useless. Let's see which one's the best. But I fidget a lot. And on my non-spinnering, I do this. I'll try and slow it down. I do that. And I remember there was, when I was in high school, there was a guy who saw me doing it, a student standing next to me saw me doing it. And he was like, whoa, that's so cool. Can you teach me? So, you know, I took off another ring and was showing him. And he couldn't get it. It was so weird. Like, even when I was trying to slow it down. But yeah, I do that. I also, even though you're not really supposed to do it, I also do it with the fidget. With the spinner one. Ooh, that's a fun one. I like my fidget. I like to fidget a lot, which I love my hands. But yeah. If that counts, I can do that with my rings. And it's basically useless. It just gives me something to do. If you had to lose a body part, what would you choose to lose? Like, if I just had to lose? Define body part. Like, can I, like, lose a pinky from my hand? Or do I have to, like, lose my whole hand? Would that count? My pinky toe? Can I just lose my pinky toe? I'd be like, sure, let's go with that. The Loon system, spoiler, or a trigger warning, morbid topics, mentions of death. Okay, so there's your warning. If you could choose any funeral service, what do you want to be done with your body after you die? Burial, natural burial, cremation, sky burial, Viking funeral. I don't want an over-the-top thing. Donate, depending on how, I guess, I would go. If I could donate my organs so that way somebody else can make better use of them, I would want that to happen. Cremation, maybe. Whatever's easy. just like, there you go. I think. What's your favorite movie now? What was your favorite movie as a kid? Okay, favorite movie as a kid would be The Swan Princess. Absolute favorite. I would rewind that. I would make my older brother watch it with me. And I have it on DVD now, but at the time it was the VCR tape. Throwing back to that age. Favorite movie now might be going back to the third Harry Potter Prisoner of Azkaban, because like that's how the character should have been in the book. Harry's messy hair, all of that. Plus with the werewolf, I really like, I mentioned earlier, I like wolves, I like werewolves, and like the Harry Potter world, like that's how you do werewolves. Like the moon cycle, they don't change on will, it's against their will, they don't recognize you. Like that was a good movie. What holiday do you enjoy the most and why? Halloween. It's spooky, and I like spooky things, and I like candy. I have a very big sweet tooth. I love candy and chocolate, and just, I had chocolate earlier. I had a giant thing of, what? Hershey Kisses that I got, and I just ate it like a little rock. What is your least favorite part of that holiday? When it's over, and typically, at least where I live, for Halloween, it's, in the most recent of years, it's just been miserable and cold and rainy out. So like, you know, when kids come to the door, it's just, they're miserable. Do you believe in ghosts? I believe there's stuff out there. If so, have you ever had an experience with them? I have not. I went to a spooky place, reformatory in Ohio. Granted, there were a lot of people on the tour, so if anything happened, there were way too many people there. But even that was a great tour. You got to learn some history there. But you know, nothing really happened, and I've never had one. Would you ever open a P.O. box? I would. Maybe that'll be a thing for next year. I would have to look into them and figure out. If so, what would you like to be sent? My thing is with like sending stuff, and like I know me as a person, when I give friends gifts, I try and go for, I looked at this and it made me think of you. So I know like my friends nowadays, if they see like Star Wars Baby Yoda with Grogu, they're all like, they take a picture and they're like, oh, I thought of you when I saw this, and I'm like, it's Baby Yoda, he's my favorite. So little things like that. If you look at something and you think of me, I think those would be nice, because those mean a lot to me. When you think of somebody, when you see something, you associate it with them. Any tips? No pressure. Any tips for aspiring writers? How do you get motivation to write? Okay, so I'll answer this one first. Any tips? I kind of answered it in a last. Where did that accent come from? I kind of answered it in a last video of just like write everything down. And don't limit yourself to where you can get inspiration from. It can be like that's even the thing of it. I can't even put a limit on it, because everything happens, at least where my inspiration comes from. It's a lot of what I take in, whether it be another kind of book or people watching or personal experience. And then if you can make something, go by all means. If you can make something of it and turn it into your own and build upon it, like, do it. It's so satisfying. And just do the thing. And it would be, I would say, don't, like, I do this. I write and then I edit and then I go back and I edit more. And then it kind of feels like, oh, well, now you know what to expect. And it's kind of like you've been rereading it. You've just been constantly exposed to it. So yeah, you're gonna be able to predict it, and you're also writing it, so you're gonna know what's happened. But if you give it to somebody else who has never read it before, it's their first time, their first experience, it's gonna be a completely different thing for them. So, like, I know I also have things of, like, oh, this is so unoriginal. It's, not going to be great. And I have to remind myself of this is mine. And, I've been overexposed at this point to it. So it's not going to have the same effect. I would say keep that in mind for sure. And then I guess I kind of answered that. How do you get your motivation to write? Motivation. I lied. I didn't answer that. Motivation. I'm stubborn. I'm immensely stubborn. I think that's where a big part of my motivation to write comes from. I'm dyslexic. I was diagnosed with it in 8th grade. And typically with dyslexia, you don't like reading and you don't like writing, which kind of threw the person who tested me off, because it was like, what do you like to do? And it was like, I like to read and I like to write. Granted, it's a little bit different for me if you compared it to my siblings, excluding the youngest because she is also dyslexic. Me also wanting to read a particular thing and it doesn't exist yet, so I have to write it myself, is another motivation that I have. And yes, I get writer's block or things like that, and then if I do that, if there's a particular scene that I'm stuck on, then I literally leave in all caps, here's what I want to happen. And then I go into what's next, whether it be the chapter ends there and I start the next one, or I jump to something else in that sense, but I don't let it stop me and I keep going. So that would be another thing too. Speaking of motivation, IDK. Oh, Saving Crime Boys. Hello. IDK what to ask, and I was like, it's a very difficult question. I would say that you're not sure what to ask, but that was my answer. That's all I got. Oh, Keish, wait, didn't you? Yeah, you're right there. If I think of a good question that isn't just what your favorite color is, I will come back. And I said, okay, spoiler, it's black. I have a lot of black background. I have to re-dye my hair. My hair is naturally very, very dark brown, but I've been dyeing it black because I like black. This has some white on it, but a lot of what I have is black because it's my favorite color. Yeah, a lot of what I have is black. If you don't count black, then I would say blue, and then purple, and then green. So I like cool colors more than warm colors, if that makes sense. But yeah, there we go. I answered questions, which I really liked them this round. Those were some very good questions, I would have to say. So thank you for all of the questions. Kind of like I said earlier, I hope you learned something new. Some of those actually really made me think of what my response would be. So good job making me use my brain. Thanks a lot for that. And I guess I will see y'all in the next video. Bye! Hey, it's Little Adorable, back at it again with another video where I answer questions from Twitter. So maybe we'll learn a new thing. What? Why did no one tell me my hair looks like that? You can see the brown.